What's good? What's good, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of The Urban Platform Speaks. Make sure to like and subscribe as you come into the channel and check out the content. And with that being said, man, I want to speak on like the brands and what happens to people who come into the professional league, like the NFL and the NBA, professional sports. If you already have like a large brand or something like that, and I just noticed a trend um, with people that have like brands outside of these professional leagues, and so what people have to be really like what they have to be aware of, you know. And I first noticed it with what's the guy name with the Ball guys. What's Lonzo Ball and Lamelo Ball and I think I don't know what the father name is. I think it's LeVar Ball, right? And so if you remember when they was coming into the league, LeVar Ball was talking about how he was going to he was starting his own brand, his own tennis shoe brand more specifically, right? And that he was, he was looking to compete with like the larger brands and stuff like that. Uh, with the large tennis shoe brands, Nike, Adidas, and all those guys, Under Armour and stuff like that. And so it was obvious that LeVar was going to take the money that his son made from playing professional basketball to bankroll and help to start, his own brand and stuff like that. And I noticed, and I'm not even saying that it's wrong, right? I think it's business. Some people could say it's wrong. Well, if you think it's right or wrong, but big businesses like the NBA and then you have their sponsors Nike and all that. They're not really in the business of helping these star athletes sponsor, you know, make money so they can sponsor and start their own tennis shoe company, like their own competition. And so they don't do that. Um, and so that's why I think that like any way that they can place a roadblock in these guys' ways, whereas though you're not able to start your own brand, I think they're gonna do that. And I noticed that, and I think that's what happened with like Shador Sanders, in my opinion. Like Shador Sanders he already have his own brand, like he's part of the his father's brand at Prime. Deion Sanders, they got the Prime brand. And so they're making money outside of the NBA. I mean, I'm sorry, it's outside of the NFL. And so when Shador Sanders was coming in, just imagine if Shador Sanders had a went in the top 5 in that draft. So that means that now Shador Sanders, he can capitalize on being like a top 5 draft pick. That's number 1. Then on number 2, they already have their brand set up. So if he has his brand, he's already a part of a big brand. Deion Sanders, Shador Sanders, and Shiloh, all those, they can use that positive, um, they can use that positive publicity and that positive momentum to really grow their brand. And that would have been worth so much more than the $30 million that they would have got. Like, say, like if he would have signed for, some people say he lost like $30 million not going top 5. But to already have a brand that's so established, like the Prime brand, that would have really propelled them into a situation where they would be making hundreds of millions of dollars just because Shador Sanders say he went number 3 or 4 or in the top 5. That would have been something that, like the Sanders really could have bankrolled that type of situation. So, in my opinion, I think that that's part of the reason why Shador Sanders, he went, like he went so he didn't go as high in the draft as he thought. Now, some people say he wasn't as talented, and that could be true too, right? They didn't think he was a top 5 draft pick. But throughout the years, you have seen people go higher than what people what people had projected them, or what people felt like they should have gone. So, I don't think so that's subjective, like how high or how low they went in the draft. But for him to go number five, 144 in the fifth round, I just think a big part of that was money. So you can't take that big signing bonus and help to bankroll, your brand. And also you can't take the fact that it's hard for you to bankroll or propel you into a higher, like it just would have been good for them to propel them to a higher level, even if he had went in top five. So they would have had the money and they would have had the prestige going along with where he was drafted at, had he went higher. And so I don't see, like I said, those big professional leagues, not really, they are they like monopolies, and they don't, they're not really in the business of trying to sponsor these kids and these people coming in with these new brands. And then people say, and I think it's a mistake for people to tell, like I thought it was a mistake for Lavar brand, a ball, to tell that, we're gonna start our own baller shoe and all this other stuff. You don't want to tell people what you're going to do. I thought that was a mistake. Also, Deion Sanders, and they told people, that they didn't want to go here, they didn't want to go there. Certain things you got to keep under the hat. You don't want to, especially when you don't have the leverage, all of the leverage. Sometimes people, they will use the leverage that they have to prevent you from accomplishing what you are trying to accomplish. And some people might call that hate, whereas though other people just call it just good business. And somebody else, like, take for instance that the Big Three league with what's the guy named Ice Cube. Like Ice Cube said that, he felt like the NBA was standing in his way in a lot of ways, or putting up hurdles in a lot of ways to prevent his league from growing. And so, that's how you know that these big professional, like the NBA and, like I said, the NFL, they are going to do whatever they can do, to really to stop these guys, or to limit the amount of money that these guys can make. Because number one, it gives them leverage over the players that they have, and they're used to having leverage over the players that come into the league. They don't want players to come in with, a certain amount of control, like, um like Deion Sanders and his boys. They would have had a lot of leverage had he gone, higher. The Big Three, you know, also with that Big Three league, the NBA don't want it to be, they don't want it to be so obvious that they are, that they don't really support that league, or they don't care about that league. But they really not, they're not in the business of supporting their competitors. Same thing with this league with the young ladies, the Unrivaled, right? They're not going to really support that. The WNBA is not going to support the this Unrivaled league, although it's just a 3-on-3 league, but it's still competition, because they don't want to draw the fans from one league, divide that fan base in between those two leagues, the WNBA and Unrivaled. They don't need that competition, and they don't want it, especially right now when the WNBA is just now starting to. They really starting to, to gain some momentum and gain some more popularity with Angel Reese. With Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark coming into the league. So, and not just Angel and Caitlin, but you had a lot of young ladies who coming into the league, and they're making the league more popular, and so we're going to see a whole lot more of these, the NBA and the and the NFL. Like, it's going to become more and more obvious as these people come in with these social media type followings, you know that Nike is not going to want to they're not going to try to compete with these people, want to compete with these people because they have a monopoly. The NBA and the NFL not going to want to be able to, not going to want to. They want to capitalize on your fan base. They don't want you to capitalize on your fan base. That's why when Shedeur Sanders really didn't get drafted the way he wanted to, they set up a website where you can go and buy like Shedeur Sanders, his jersey and his merch and stuff like that. And people were supporting him that way. And so that's something that like the NFL can't stop. And that's something that with that, they may not even be really too concerned about somebody just selling t-shirts. But if Shedeur Sanders get his and Deion Sanders, if they have an opportunity to make too much money and capitalize too much on their popularity and too much on their success, I think that'll be a problem for the NFL. So I think going forward, though, in my opinion, I think you're going to see more. You might even see like a lawsuit against like the NFL or the NBA coming from somebody who wants to sue them because basically the NFL and the NBA and the major league sports, they're going to do it like behind the scenes. It won't be so obvious that they're trying to block these people from making money. They want to make money off of you, but because that's how things have worked for so long. And so if you coming in and you already have $100 million, just imagine somebody coming in with $100 million and how much leverage that gives you. They don't want to deal with that. They want that $100 million, and then they'll pay you what they think you deserve or what they think you worth. But this like is a whole new different era. That we're going into. This is like uncharted territory. And you're going to see a lot of people with, like I said, with large fan bases and large social media presence who had the opportunity to make money. And these professional leagues are really going to, they're going to have different ways to, to kind of throw a wrench in their program. And so it's going to become more obvious. And I'm surprised nobody has sued them yet. I think Ice Cube from the Big Three, he threatened to sue him. I don't know if he really went through with it. But if they want to make money themselves, they're not really going to be trying to see you make all the money. And so that's why, that's what I think the next trend is going to be, like trying to slow down these guys with these big following and fan bases. Just imagine like if Angel Reese, I mean, not Angel Reese, if Caitlin Clark, with like the fan base that Caitlin Clark has, if she said she was going to start her own shoe, that would really be that would be frowned upon, in the WNBA and Nike and all those big companies who sell athletic gear and merchandise. That wouldn't be, that would make Caitlin Clark like public enemy number one. So yeah, we're going to see, if you don't sign on with Nike or you don't sign on with Adidas and you try to go out and you try to do your own thing, you are going to have major problems. I bet you. And so that's my take on it. Make sure to like and subscribe. Also, don't forget to leave a comment. And with that being said, I'll check you all out on the next episode. Peace.